Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Figuring Out Epilepsy, where we talk about all things epilepsy plus more. For today's episode, we are going to talk about whether there is a cure for epilepsy or not. I have been seeing this a lot lately, especially in comments on SoCal Epilepsy's page, or AKA Bree. I've been seeing it on her page. I've been getting a few of my own. And so let's talk about it. I have my handy dandy composition book, like that Blue's Clues reference. If you know, you know. I'm such a dork. But I have my notes here because there's no way in my life that I would be able to remember all this just off the bat like that, because my memory sucks. Welcome to that epilepsy life. So let's go ahead and get started. Is there a cure for epilepsy? Well, first we need to figure out what epilepsy is. And according to the Epilepsy Foundation, epilepsy is a brain disorder that causes recurring unprovoked seizures. The key words is recurring unprovoked. So what is a seizure though? We're going to define that for you too. Seizures are sudden surges of abnormal, excessive electrical activity in the brain and can affect you how you appear and act. That is why my eyes be twitching sometimes, because my brain be having a party and it don't know what to do with all that electricity. And it causes me to twitch, or it causes me to have a tonic-clonic. I mean, that's the simplest way I can say it. It's my brain's having a party and it's just getting out of control. But you can have seizures and not be diagnosed with epilepsy, but you cannot have epilepsy and not have seizures. And that is because when you have seizures, there's so many different causes for seizures. And that's why when we were defining epilepsy, I said recurring unprovoked are key terms when it comes to what epilepsy is, because you can have seizures and it can be, or you can have a seizure and it can be from like drugs, alcohol. It can be from, what was that one actress's name? She had a seizure because she drank too much water. There's so many different reasons. You hit your head. I don't know if I should say this. Probably not. Should I? I don't know. I'll say it, and then if anything, if they say it's not okay, then I'll edit it out. But I have a family member who was having seizures because he was having he was bleeding in his brain because he just had a couple strokes. So there's that reason. So there's so many different reasons as to why you can have seizures. But when you have epilepsy is a completely different situation. It's when, they're unprovoked, there's no real reason, your brain is just getting out of control. Your brain is just acting out. Think of it like a little teenager and or a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum. That is basically epilepsy. You don't always know why you have the seizures. You don't always know why you have the disorder. You just know that you do because of what you do, how you act. For me, I get my eye twitches. I get, like right before a tonic-clonic, I really have to use the restroom. I get cranky and irritable and moody, and holy moly, I get so stubborn. It gets to a point where I will not listen to anyone. My family absolutely hates it. My mom hates it. My daughter hates it. Oh, how stubborn I get. But that's part of me about to have a seizure. It's just being all stubborn. And I think I've gotten better at it. I'm not as stubborn as before, thankfully, but I still have my moments. We all have our moments. When it comes to treating epilepsy, there's several different treatments. Now, you have anti-epileptic drugs. that's what I take. I take medication for my epilepsy. And a lot of people who are diagnosed with epilepsy, they start off with anti-epileptic drugs. That's always the first go-to for the neurologist. And most people, I wouldn't say most people, say a lot of the majority of, or I don't know about majority, but a lot of people that I have talked to are on medication. Even if you get different treatments done, then you're still on medication. So, I mean, I guess everyone's on medication, really. Yeah. But there's also brain surgery. I believe SoCal Epilepsy had brain surgery. She's always the first person I come up to because I talk to her all the time. So when I think of brain surgery, I always think of her. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I love you, Brie. The vagus nerve stimulator. I have a whole episode on treatments that go into detail about each and every one of these treatments. So go ahead and check that out. I'll link it down below too. I'll also link it in the description box just in case you want to know a little bit more. I'm just going to go through what kind of treatments are. And then there's the deep brain stimulation. I believe Brie has that one, if I am not mistaken. She either has the VNS or the DBS. But I think it's the deep brain stimulation, the one that she has. But yes, some people use the ketogenic diet. Some people are recommended the ketogenic diet. If you didn't know, that diet was actually first given to children whose the medication was not working for them. So they suggested the ketogenic diet, and then it became this whole fad, trend, whatever. Fad. I think that's like a word from back in my day. This trend that everyone uses the ketogenic diet. That diet I eventually want to be on because food does affect the way my epilepsy is and how I'm treated and all that. So eventually I'm going to go on that diet. Right now I'm just trying to figure my life out when it comes to eating and stuff. Oh my gosh. And then some people do marijuana. I don't know if it's in the combination of with the drugs, but I know some people use marijuana as a treatment. There's this whole Charlotte's Web that cured a little girl from her epilepsy. If you Google Charlotte's Web or Charlotte Web and epilepsy, you'll be able to find so much information on marijuana and exactly what type of marijuana helps with epilepsy. Also, if you put it in YouTube, there's so many videos. I have tried marijuana. Didn't work for me. All it did is make me more sleepy than I already was. It didn't help me. I didn't like it. I mean, I'll probably do like CBD oil just to help me sleep because I can't sleep properly. But marijuana, like, nah, that's not for me. I personally didn't like it. So let's go on to the rest of my points that I have here in my handy dandy composition book. I Googled, because I don't want you guys to just hear it from me. I Googled, is there a cure for epilepsy? And I clicked on a few websites. So I'm going to read you what they say. From Cure Epilepsy, it states there are no known cures for epilepsy. From the Epilepsy Foundation, they say there is no known cure for epilepsy. Developments in treatment have made it possible for most people to achieve seizure control. Very Well Health states currently there's no cure for epilepsy, but treatment can help become seizure-free. We're going to talk about what seizure-free is in a second. Penn Medicine states epilepsy is a lifelong condition for which there is currently no cure. So, different websites that I clicked on, they all say the same thing. There is no cure for epilepsy. So, if someone tells you that oh, this person got cured from herbals or whatever they're saying. A doctor, there's one comment that said a doctor in Africa cures people with epilepsy. There's no known cure for epilepsy. Maybe they have a better handle of being able to control people's seizures. Possibly. Who am I to say? I don't know. I'm not in Africa. I'm in the US. Like, I am not here to say that that they're not out here helping people with epilepsy. I don't know. All I know is that there's no cure for epilepsy, and we need to be careful in how we word things, because some people can be offended by it. Some people don't appreciate the fact that you're here trying to tell them that their epilepsy is going to be cured when there's no cure. You can completely have control of your seizures where you're seizure free. And that's actually my next points. I wrote down this I'm in a new setup, so this is like awkward for me right now. Controlled seizures means seizures have been stopped. Drug resistant seizures or uncontrolled seizures. So there is a thing called drug resistant seizures, which means that your epilepsy isn't controlled by any medication, and it's usually why doctors or neurologists tell you to go to a different treatment, because the anti-epileptic drugs aren't working out for you. Me, I would probably be there because my medicine doesn't work out, except my rescue medicine. It's the only thing that helps me. But controlled seizures mean seizures have stopped. So now let's get into the difference. Just because your seizures are controlled or you are seizure free doesn't mean you don't have epilepsy. There's a huge difference between not having epilepsy or being cured from epilepsy and being seizure free. Seizure free just means you haven't had a seizure in however long you want to say you haven't, or however long you haven't. Different people count it differently. Like, some people are like, I've been seizure free for a day. I've been seizure free for 2 weeks. I've been seizure free for 5 months. I've been seizure free for a year or 2 years or 3 years. However they want to consider it, that's up to them. So you are going to hear seizure free, seizure free, seizure free. That term is used a lot in social media, but it doesn't mean that they don't have epilepsy anymore, because if they stop their treatment that has been working for them for however long, more likely than not, they would have another seizure. So just because you are seizure free doesn't mean you are cured from epilepsy, doesn't mean you don't have epilepsy. You just don't have the symptom. Seizures are the symptom of the disorder. So your symptoms are under control. Your disorder is not gone. It's just not there. It's just, you're not having those frequent symptoms that is making your disorder horrible and, sucky. I don't know how else to put it. But that's a huge difference. I would love for there to be a cure for epilepsy. I would be out there throwing a party, out there partying with all my epilepsy warriors. We want nothing but to have a cure for epilepsy. This is what all the research that the Epilepsy Foundation, the Cameron Boyce Foundation, the Henley Foundation, all these foundations, all these epilepsy foundations, that's what we're working towards. I have worked with a lot of people behind the scenes about research when it comes to epilepsy, and this is what we're working towards. This is what we're working towards, is for us to find a cure for epilepsy. Unfortunately, there isn't one at this moment. Doesn't mean that maybe one day we'll have one. You never know. Life is so unpredictable. Life is crazy. We could have a cure for epilepsy one day. I mean, epilepsy's been around way too long for there to not be a cure. So, who's going to come up with it? Let's figure it out. Come on. But as of right now, there's no cure. So if you hear that, I mean, handle it however you feel is fit. Me personally, I just try to ignore them. I'm like, if you are going to tell me that there's a cure when there's not, I'm just not going to believe anything you say because you're misinformed and I don't have the time to sit here and argue with someone who's uneducated about epilepsy. I don't have the time and I don't have the energy to argue with people. I'll let you know. I'm here to educate people. I will let you know, like, hey, there's no cure, but I'm not going to sit here and argue because sometimes these people who claim there's a cure like to argue with us, and I'm not about to do that. I got way too much to do in my life, and my energy and time is way too precious to sit here and argue with a bunch of people online. So, but I will let you know there's no cure. There's a difference between being seizure free and having a cure for epilepsy. And I think that's where most people are mistaken when we say that we've been seizure free. They think that, oh, you've been seizure free for, let's use my friend as an example. I have a friend, he's been seizure free for 6 years after his brain surgery. He wrote a book about it actually too. I'll link it down below. But I think this August is going to be 7 years. So in August, it will be 7 years. He's been seizure free for 7 years. He still has epilepsy, though. You know, he still takes medication on a regular basis. And if he didn't, you know, there's a huge chance that he would have a seizure. And it would probably be a lot worse than his seizures he have normally, because for whatever reason, when you get off medication, your seizures are just like 10 times worse. That's why neurologists always suggest do not get off your medication because it could be a lot worse. Potential death is possible when you're off your medication, when you get off your medication. So medication consistency is so important. So do not get off your medication. If you are not liking the medication you are on, talk to your neurologist, talk to your epileptologist, talk to whoever is treating your epilepsy. Talk to them. They're here to help us. So talk to them. Don't be afraid. You write down questions beforehand. You know, I need to show it. I used to write down a bunch of questions that I would have. Right now, I haven't had a tonic-clonic in 4 years. So, I mean, our appointments are really short. It's honestly just me asking him questions like, hey, can I drive? Hey, can I go skydiving? Hey, can I do jujitsu? Like, that's basically our appointments. Like, he's just like, how are you, Sam? How's everything going? And I'm like, good. He's like, so the medication's still working? I'm like, yep. So working just like how it used to work. And then he's like, is there anything you want to talk about? I was like, well, I did have a question. Am I allowed to do jujitsu? Because I mean, you know, it's kind of fighting. Or I'll ask him like, can I drive? Can I go skydiving? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then he got kind of tired. He's like, Sam, you can do whatever you want as long as you're precautious and you're, you know, you take it easy, you listen to yourself and listen to your body. But he's like, why can't you live a normal life? I mean, that's straight from my neurologist. Why can't I live a normal life like everyone else? And this is what I've been sharing with everyone. It's like, we can live our normal life. We need to stop calling it normal too. I had such a bad habit. It's, who's to say that life without epilepsy is normal? Who's to say, who are we to define what normal is, what a normal life is? We need to get that out of our vocabulary and start thinking like, I am living a normal life. I am living. Oh, this is a whole other episode. Like, we are living a normal life. We are living our lives. we're just doing it differently from the norm, from everyone else who don't have epilepsy. So it's like, our life is normal for those of us who have epilepsy. This is our normal. This is our reality. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's worse than people who don't have epilepsy. It's just different. That's kind of, I'll probably end up doing an episode on that. But yes, there's a huge difference between being seizure-free and being cured from epilepsy. Huge difference. I hope everyone who reaches that point to where they are seizure-free, I genuinely and honestly do hope that everyone reaches that. And I hope one day that we do have a cure for epilepsy. It'd be wonderful. But as of right now, there's no cure. So we need to, and it's okay that there's no cure. We have to, let's think about it. Each person with epilepsy is so unique. We may have similarities. We may have the same triggers. We may have the same seizures. But when it comes to our treatment, it's so different from one person to the next. So I think that's what's so hard about epilepsy, treating epilepsy, curing epilepsy, is the fact that each individual is so different. We all have a different story. We all have different experiences. We all have, different triggers, and our seizures don't look exactly the same. So, finding a cure, I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time and possibly thinking outside the box. So, we'll see. One day we'll have a cure. I genuinely think that we'll have a cure one day. But as of right now, there's no cure, and that's okay. That's okay. We are going to continue living our life. We're going to continue striving to be seizure-free for how much time. It doesn't matter the time. We continue to be seizure-free. I mean, everyone is different, and I hope everyone reaches being seizure-free one day. We are going to make it. We need to start, believing in the possibilities. So that is my little spiel about the difference between seizure-free and cure of epilepsy. It was kind of a ramble and kind of like, I don't know. I felt very like aggressive in this episode for whatever reason. I felt like, I don't know. It could just be me in my own head, but this is epilepsy, and watch one day when there's a cure, I will be throwing a party. So all my warriors and their families, they're all invited. We're gonna be partying it up. So let's just hope for that cure. I will talk to you guys on the next episode of Figuring Out Epilepsy. And yeah, make sure you check out the description box. Bye, guys.